while being in phase 3, public meetings are allowed to take place. It is only allowed if the organization can do so with the necessary restrictions. The board discussed this actually in the study session today, and the district is taking actions to get us back to in-person board meetings safely and legally, while also continuing to provide virtual access to our board meetings, again, both safely and legally. So now I will introduce the board members. Tasha Woods, Dan Schisler, Hilda Pena Alfaro, and Meg Ludlam. And I am also Jason White. Also, I'm looking to see if our student representatives are here. I see Jaden Burrows is with us. Probably have to keep scrolling to see if Olivia is there as well. And then also we have Superintendent Ginger Haber and some of her admin with us as well. So, all right, board, let's get moving on this agenda. So first up, we have the consent agenda. I will entertain a motion.
I move that we accept the consent agenda as presented.
I'll second.
All right, Tasha has moved that we approve the consent agenda as presented, and Dan has seconded. Is there any discussion?
I would like to thank Ms. Janzer for her work with us. She's been a counselor here, and that's such an incredibly important job right now. So thank you for doing that, and good luck in your future endeavors. And I'm excited to see 3 new candidates coming for approval tonight. That's something that we're gonna need and appreciate.
Well stated. Thank you, Dan. Any other discussion? All right, then I'm going to call the vote. Tasha?
Aye.
Dan?
Aye.
Hilda?
Aye.
Meg?
Aye.
And I also vote aye. Motion carries. Consent agenda is approved. So that leads us to administration. Superintendent Haberer, you have, it sounds like, celebrations and updates to share with the board.
Yes, so definitely want to celebrate. We have our elementary principals here tonight, and just what a huge effort on their part and their staff part to bring our students back in person, our hybrid students back in person full-time, 5 days last week. And they were just sharing such wonderful stories. I had a chance to go through Lincoln and just see the smiles on the students' faces. And so I said, well, I want you guys to have a chance to share some of those celebrations with the board as well. So I'm going to share my screen, and they put together some slides that show you some pictures of what this first week was like. So first we have Camp Stewart with Kathy Kiefer.
Good evening, and thank you for having us. And thank you, Ginger, for kind of celebrating this along with us. It was a huge celebration to finally have most of our students all back in person. We had been waiting for it for a long time, over a year at that point. And it was something that was definitely a heavy lift in making sure that it went off positively and was a success for both our students, our families, and our staff. We had all been kind of anticipating that K-5 would be the first to come back, even in those couple of weeks prior to spring break. And so we pulled our team together. I grabbed up Mallory Benfield, who is our school counselor, and Bill Lorenz, my dean of students, and pulled them in and said, all right, as we're looking forward to planning what this is going to look like, what do we need to be thinking of? And we knew that it was, again, going to be a pretty heavy lift after the year we had all experienced. We knew it would be just like the first week of school in that celebratory nature where you have equal parts excitement and anticipation, but also nervousness on everyone's part. And so it was really our priority to make it as positive and fun as possible. So we brainstormed some appropriate supports for both students and staff. And we knew that we wanted to focus on our PBIS, which is our positive behavior interventions and supports. It's kind of our school-wide framework that we use to teach and reteach expectations and just build an inclusive school community. And then also focus on our second steps curriculum, which is our social emotional learning curriculum that we're using at the K-5 level. And what we ended up landing on was a thought that we had originally brainstormed as an entire staff after our training with Bella, our SEL training that we had with Bella earlier, just a couple of months ago. And as a school staff, we had decided that next fall, in opening a new building and having it be possibly the first time we were all back together again with all of our kids, that how important it was going to be to really create a fun and positive learning environment to not only learn a new school, but also learn how to be all back together. And so because we decided that this was going to be just like a first week back, we decided, well, let's try out these ideas that we had brainstormed with our staff and let's see if we can pull it together in time to have it ready for whenever we get that date to come back. And so that's what we did. And I have to give a lot of the credit to Mallory and Bill, who weren't able to be here tonight, but Mallory worked on all of the SEL components and the PBIS structures. She organized camp t-shirts being made by Shirtworks, and the staff ordered Camp Stewart t-shirts so that we would all have camp gear. She put clipboards together with all of our teach tos for the different areas to kind of reteach expectations to our students that first week. And she and Bill also organized with our specialists to have them, instead of teaching their regular content like PE, library, and STEAM, to be teaching some of those second step lessons and on some topics that we felt like were going to be critical. And so we taught a friendship and bullying one. Handling change and dealing with anxiety was another one. We taught all of our recess expectations and how to solve problems. And so every time they went to a specialist, instead of getting their regular specialist that first week, they got an SEL lesson that was built just for them to kind of remind and reteach what that looks like now with full classrooms and a full school. And so with that camp theme, we had a lot of fun. We set up little fake campfires around the playgrounds, and you can see in that first photo there a class gathered around one of the campfires doing an outdoor lesson with their teacher. Our commitment was really to make sure that within the classrooms and around the school that week that we truly were committed to focusing on reconnecting and just really leveraging that connection with their teacher and also with their peers that they hadn't seen all year long. And one of our teachers had said it so nicely, and she said, we really wanted to focus on the connections, our first grade team, because they wanted to unite their class in a fun way, because bringing two groups together mid-year was no easy task. And so they really focused on those activities that really were inclusive and uniting and kind of bringing those groups together. They made friendship bracelets and classroom s'mores parties. And if you'll go to the next slide, Ginger, there are a few more pictures of some of the fun activities that teachers put together for learning. In the bottom right-hand corner, that's Ann Wichterman's class. And this was their intense intense day. And under their desk tent, they had their favorite book and a couple of other school items, and they did little read-ins and other activities under there, and first grade tie-dyed t-shirts, and got into the camp spirit doing that. Our PTA jumped on board to support our teachers, and you can see the camper there. They decorated the outside of our staff room and provided snacks and treats all week long. Just in celebration again of having everybody back. And we wanted to kind of take a step back from technology after a year of technology, and just really focus on not necessarily the academics that first week, but let's focus on just being used to being back together and enjoying one another and getting to know each other again. And it was a lot of work to pull off in the short amount of time that we had, but it was fantastic. It felt so good. And the energy around the building was more than double what it had been, both literally, just and emotionally in the feel of things. And it was very heartwarming to see all week long, and very exhausting. But I think what our camp theme did, and that focus on SEL, was it took away kind of that nervous and anxiousness that many of the adults were having in bringing us all back together, and allowed us to focus on what we knew, what was important for kids, and really did help us celebrate last week. And we got off to a great start, and this week has been just more of the same. We are busy with lots going on, and we're already seeing the benefits of those reteaches and students helping one another and welcoming one another and being good friends. So I am very thankful for my team and my teachers and our PTA and our families for just their hard work, their grit, their support of us throughout this entire year, and in coming back as well, because it was a change for all of us. And we are so excited to finish out the school year with most of our kids back, and also still meeting the needs of our 45 VA students who we are still serving in just the same way, if not better than we ever were. And thank you all for your support along the way, because I know that you as the board have had to make very difficult decisions this year as well. And I have felt very supported by the decisions and the conversations that have been had. So thank you very much.
Thank you, Kathy. And next is Valley View. Rob.
Well, thank you, Kathy. Well said. Absolutely. That, when we get down to it, the important things rise. And, going through all that we have, the important part obviously was kids' emotional health and how they're feeling and how they're doing and what we can do to support that more. And so we did the same thing. We didn't have camp, impressive and cool theme and neat thing that you did there. But bringing kids together by grade levels with us to recognize the challenges, just, to fit a whole group of kindergartners in or whatever grade. We did it through every single grade, and just say, we have been through a lot. You have been through a lot. You have worked hard. Your families have worked hard. It has been unfortunate, not great, not what we planned for or wanted, but man, thank you so much. And we're glad to see you. We're looking forward to making this as great of an experience as we can in the time that we have left this year, and then looking forward to doing some of the things that we've all been accustomed to in schools for many years. So we did that, and in our building it's pause, and those things are part of the PBIS program, and it's positive attitude, accepting responsibility, working hard, and showing respect. And we use it for all the different areas of school. And we didn't so much teach what those meant in every area as much as to remind them that pause is not how we gain your attention. And it's not how you line up for lunch. It's how you live. And it will be that forever. And we hope that we continue to have people understand that. It's the things that we would hope they leave their life with, is the importance of those qualities. So we brought that back. We also pointed out the really important fact that they made friends that they never would have made before in these smaller groups. And we've talked about it, I think, a couple of times, maybe to the board or to the public, certainly among our staff, how a group goes out to recess and they're with 8 or 10 or 12 or 15 kids and they make friends that they never would have. But now we're back together with a group of 25, and they shouldn't forget that people are people. And as they go around and discover that you talk to someone, you make friends with them, you play with them, and your life is better because you have many friends. We're not just looking to have 1 or 2 friends, because when those 1 or 2 are gone, we don't have many left. So that is an important lesson. But also, the challenges that come with the bigger group and struggles are important. And the honeymoon of last week, where everyone was almost nearly perfectly behaved again, like they were in small groups, has turned to the reality of this week, which is meaning those behavioral referrals that we've had, or the pause reports, are back in a smaller number so far. But guess what? Those things are what we learn from. And I truly would never expect and want a school where everyone does everything perfectly, because there's lessons to learn from the struggles we have and the struggles of other people. So I missed that probably more than anything, is the conversations about choices, conversations about better choices, and how other people feel because of our choices. So those talks and those conversations are here, and we're all benefiting from them. I think the joys of a student walking down with a bloody knee are back. The joys of a tooth missing, and the excitement from people celebrating someone's tooth missing. Those are all things that school just needs to have and has. So a pleasure and a joy, and thank you certainly to our staff. Kelly Roeder, our assistant principal, has done a huge amount of work just in coordinating all of the things that were needed to have this happen and happen effectively. Our staff in general, top to bottom, classified staff, certified staff, saying we will do whatever we need to have this happen ASAP. And I'm really proud of them and grateful to be part of Valley View, and to the school board and Ginger and our administrative staff at the district level, because there wasn't a day that has gone by that it wasn't hard on someone, and probably everyone. So thank you to that. And most recently, thank you to Ginger and the school board for supporting a 5th grade field trip that could have easily been said no, that we don't need that. But we spent, excuse me, a couple hours as part of our year-long curriculum, where we grow salmon and we release salmon and we go back and watch them spawn. And it was not to go walk around in the sun. It was to understand the environment and how fish and salmon are living in it and affecting our lives too. So appreciate that very much, extra effort in making that happen. So please click through some of these if there are maybe more than those, I'm not sure.
Yep, let's see. I think this is looking blue, so I'm thinking this is Lincoln.
Okay.
I think we took your
We got
pictures.
a couple in there. Thank you.
Thank you, Rob. That was awesome. Joanne.
All right. Well, I don't know if you turned the sound on on the screen when you did this, but do you think that's
No, but I can go back and do that. Let me do
okay?
it.
While she's doing that, I just want to say wow to Kathy and Rob and the staff and families over at Mount Stewart and Valley View. That's awesome to see what you guys have done. And when Ginger said, like, let's come celebrate, you've got to have music, right? So I didn't break out the jammy pack, but if we're going to celebrate good times, because we've been through so much, and it was a celebration to come back together. So go ahead, Ginger, if you just hit play, we're going to watch some of these kids. These aren't Lincoln kids, but they are kids from around the world. And I think music is just good. So take a moment and just get ready to celebrate. You can dance if you want to.
Celebrate good times. celebration to last through all the years. So bring your good times and your laughter too. We gonna celebrate your party with you. Come on. Celebration. Let's all celebrate and have a good time.
Okay, that's good, Ginger. That's good.
No, I'm just finally getting into it. It's awesome.
We could keep going, but I know there are other things, but truly it has been a celebration, and everybody, our whole community, we're living through this pandemic, and you know, really all this hard work, we do it because children are our hope for the future, and they deserve our best each and every day. And that's why we're celebrating them, our students, and just the hope and the inspiration they bring to us each day. And I just want to say that we know schools don't open by themselves. It takes a community, and everybody here is just so grateful to everyone in our community. So thank you. And if we can go to the next slide. At Lincoln.
Wait, hold on, I'm sorry. It's doing that.
Ginger really wants to see this.
I know
I
you
do. I'm just like, don't even want to
dance.
Okay, hold on. It's freaking out on me a little bit. Let me get us back. We'll get there here. Okay, I'm almost there. Nope. Okay.
She's looking for it. We'll find some of those.
We got it. We're good. Hold on. Get to the next one. And then here. And here. And I'm going to share screen. And here it is. And there we are. There we go.
All right. So yes, Lincoln Bullpups, we are just happy to be back. We also have families that are still learning from home, and we're happy that they can continue with what's working for them. But most of all, we're just happy to be learning and happy to be all together. And we are utilizing every inch of space we have. And because of this, we've created some really cool outdoor classroom areas. It's just been so exciting to welcome kids back that haven't been in school since last year. Like, they have not been in school. So to see them happy, and a couple of these pictures, kids are outside and they found some nesting birds. So they've been able to take time and observe and write about what they're noticing and seeing and wondering. Kids are just happy to be playing together on the playground, and it's just been one of the best feelings ever to get through this hard work. Yes, but worth it, absolutely. And you can go to the next slide, Ginger. Another thing that's happened since we've been back is our teachers a lot of them are eating outside. So kids have their beach towels, and they set the beach towels out, and they love it. It's great. This is something, you know, we hope to continue even when this is over, when this pandemic is over. Picture on the left, these are some of our, brand new kindergarten students, that this is their first time in the building as a kindergarten student. So that's been just so exciting, and they're thrilled to be there, and just so much great learning. And during that first week back, we had the afternoon Rotary Club came, and they had brought some books for students, and that was really just so exciting. You can go to the next slide. Another big celebration that we have with everybody coming back is our art teacher, Mrs. Teasley, is back in the rotation because our class sizes were smaller, but how many classes we had at a grade level was smaller. Mrs. Teasley was supporting in a virtual academy class, but now that most everybody's back, she is back with art, and she does her art on a cart, and she has lots of great lessons planned for kids, and kids are just thrilled to see Mrs. Teasley coming to their room to do art. So that's been a super exciting thing to celebrate. And this been really fun to see last week when everybody came back together in one of the outdoor classrooms. One of our board ends talks about successful citizenship with the question of, How will you make the world a better place? And yes, we can start with kindergartners asking them, how are they going to do that? And in this instance, this was a group of third grade writers, and with our Lucy Calkins writing curriculum, there's a whole section about changing the world. So through their opinion writing and their ideas, kids were outside writing about some big topics of how they're going to change the world. And they truly will, and they already are. So that has been something to celebrate. And then the last slide, starting last spring when all this happened and we shut down, people I don't know who was doing it, but we kept finding little encouraging rocks around the building, around the front, and it just continued kind of all year. And you just never knew what you were going to find, what kind of an encouraging message. And, you know, just these small acts of kindness and encouragement really made a positive difference for staff and students who found the rocks. There were encouraging words like, you know, you matter, keep going, you are loved, you are amazing. And those small words really uplifted those who were lucky enough to come across the rocks. And it really reminded me of this quote and reminded me kind of where we're at. You know, we cannot all do great things, but we can do small things with great love. And together we can do something wonderful. And so in celebration and thanks, I really want to thank and acknowledge our entire community, our families, teachers, staff, our district admin, superintendent, all of the administrators, our school board, and most of all, I want to thank our students who are truly wonderful. So thank you very much.
Thank you so much, principals. Just so much to celebrate there, and really, really appreciate you sharing that with all of us. Board, do you have any questions or anything you want to share with principals? And then I'll continue with the rest of my update.
I just have to say right back at you, I don't think it's the board that you need to be thinking in any way. It's all of your work, the teachers, the staff, the administration that have done this. What a huge lift I know it's been, and I know it's been really frustrating, and I know if I was probably in those shoes, I'd be frustrated too at certain points, but I just love the positivity. I love the innovative ways that you've all moved forward, because it's what's best for our children, right? And so anyway, just thank you so much. That's wonderful to see. I think we're all excited about the future and where things are going. So again, thank you for that wonderful update.
Yes, thank you again. And really for the rest of my update, we're excited for next week, May 3rd. We have our secondary students going back for more in-person instruction. And as you know, our middle school students will be going Monday and Tuesday, and then Thursday and Friday. And then Wednesdays will be the kind of our day for differentiation and support. And so students who need to make up tests, who need extra support, maybe in math or literacy or science or any subject, will be asked to come in, encouraged to come in. Teachers will just have a really wonderful opportunity to work with students in smaller groups and give them some more personalized instruction. So we're excited about that. And then at the high school level, we continued our discussions with high school and with EEA throughout last week, and even touch base with EEA leadership over the weekend, and came up with a model that I think what resonated with high school teachers, and we got word that high school teachers were voted and were good with this model. And so the model at high school starting next week will be freshmen and sophomores will be going Monday, Tuesday, Thursday, Friday. And the high school teachers had a great opportunity, I think, to collaborate with the middle school teachers to kind of find out more about what they were doing on Wednesdays. And I think that made a lot of sense too for high school teachers. And I'm excited about that because now at the high school level, they'll have the same kind of opportunity to encourage smaller groups of students to come in and get that differentiated support and that personalized attention that's sometimes hard when you have a larger class. And So that our freshmen and sophomores will be going to school in person, our hybrid freshmen and sophomores, Mondays, Tuesday, Thursday, Friday, and then Wednesday will be that differentiation day. And then our juniors and seniors will stay in hybrid, but then they will also have an opportunity on Wednesday to come back, and if they need to make up a test, if they need some extra help in one of their classes. And once the students are there, they'll be there for a full day, go through their regular class routine. I talked to one student today on the phone, and I said, well, what are you looking forward to? And she said, I'm really looking forward to the opportunity to be able to spend more time with my friends and see my teachers. So I know students are, I think for the most part, are excited about coming back, and certainly hearing the wonderful experiences for elementary. I'm excited about how we're moving forward together as a district.
I want to open this up to the board because I have a feeling, I think Tasha, I saw you earlier, maybe that you were wanting to do a comment earlier, but this is such great news. And I think the one comment that I want to say is, I want the board to never forget the heavy lifting that this district has done to make all of this possible. And we know that that includes every single person. It includes the admin, it includes the staff, it includes the teachers, it includes the parents, the students, everyone. So this is a huge success moving forward, and it was not done without a lot of, I think, sweat, tears, and pain. So really wonderful work to all that have made this happen. So board, I hate being the only one talking. So I know that some of you feel pretty passionate about this as well. So this is pretty great news. So feel free to comment or question as well.
I think Meg had her hand up. Yeah. I don't know, and maybe she doesn't have her hand up. I swear she had her hand up.
Well, I just want to say, I mean, I know this has been a really heavy lift as well. And I really appreciate that we carried on with the teachers and reached an agreement that sounds like a even better plan than we had before, and that everybody's on board with it, because that's where we needed to be. So I really appreciate it.
I just want to say thank you to everyone, elementary principals. I'm glad that we're on Zoom, so you couldn't see me crying over here. That was amazing. You know, I think everyone would agree here, but I firmly believe that in small towns especially, our schools are the heart of the community, right? That's where we send our most precious resource. It's what our hopes and dreams are walking through those doors every single day, and the future is made there. And so to see it once again, that heartbeat, everything going on there, it's just the light at the end of the tunnel of this COVID thing. It's that much brighter because of the work that everyone has done. And it really matters to all of our kids and to all of our families. And I just want to thank everyone for that.
Yeah, I agree. And this is a time when we had actually a worldwide issue, and we came together as a community to make this work, to get us back on track to a future that will benefit us, hopefully get back to normal again.
I just want to say, so excited to see all the kids back at school. 5 days a week is wonderful. And I'm really glad that later on, starting on Monday, it will be the same for middle school and high school students. They really deserve that as well. And thank you so much for all the effort and hard work for this past week. Thanks.
All right, Ginger, was there anything else for your update or celebrations? Okay, that was it. All right, well, again, thank you. Okay, board, I'm going to keep us moving through the agenda. So next in our agenda, we have all of our minutes to approve. So again, we have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Board, we've had 5 meetings in there that we need to approve. So we've been meeting a lot. So I'm going to start off with study session minutes for April 14th. Do I have a motion to approve? Or sorry, let me back up. Are there any corrections or edits to the April 14th study session? If there are none,
Well,
Board,
I sent in a bunch
motion.
of edits, but they
Oh.
were to all of these, that they were strictly editorial.
Okay,
And I believe they're reflected in what's posted there now.
That is
Okay.
correct.
so board, I encourage you, if you haven't looked at this, at the minutes. So it sounds like Meg, you submitted corrections to all of the minutes.
Yes, but as I say, they were mostly punctuation and spelling and,
Okay.
not much substance.
So there was nothing that was substance, it was just grammar or punctuation.
I'm not sure I'd say nothing, but
Okay, okay. So I
Nothing,
just,
not really, not.
okay. Okay, no, I appreciate that, Megan. I think so. So I do want to make sure the board, as we said in the study session, are the minutes that we approve are our official record of our meeting. So it is important that we review those and that we vote, and we understand when we vote on that, that's the official record of our meeting. So so as long as everyone has looked at the April 14th study session minutes, I would entertain a motion.
I move that we approve the April 14th study session minutes.
I'll second it.
Okay. All right, I think Dan has moved that we approve the April 14th study session minutes, and I believe I heard Tasha first, and Tasha has seconded. Board, any discussion? All right, then I'll call the vote. Dan?
Aye.
Tasha?
Aye.
Hilda?
Aye.
Meg?
Aye.
And I also vote aye. Minutes approved. Next up, we have the April 14th regular meeting minutes.
I'll move that we approve the April 14th regular meeting minutes.
And I second.
All right, Dan has moved that we approve the April 14th regular meeting minutes, and Hilda has seconded. Is there any discussion? Seeing that there's not, call the vote. Dan?
Aye.
Tasha?
Aye.
Hilda?
Aye.
Meg?
Sorry, aye.
Okay, and I also vote aye. April 14th regular meeting minutes approved. Next up, we have the April 16th special session minutes.
I move that we approve the minutes of the April 16th study session.
Is there a second?
I'll second.
Okay, thank you. So Hilda has moved that we approve April 16th special session minutes. Tasha has seconded. Is there any discussion? Seeing that there is not, call a vote. Dan?
Aye.
Tasha?
Aye.
Hilda?
Aye.
Meg? Sorry, Meg, I don't hear you.
Oh, I didn't hear you call my name. Aye.
Okay, and I also vote aye. April 16th special session minutes are approved. Next up, April 19th special session minutes.
I move that we approve the April 19 special session meetings.
Okay.
I'll second.
All right. Hilda has moved that we approve the April 19th special session minutes, and Dan has seconded. Is there any discussion? Okay. And I'll call the vote. Dan?
Aye.
Jason, I didn't hear you. Did you say my name?
I did. Sorry.
Aye.
Okay. Sorry, I'm going fast. Hilda?
Aye.
Meg?
Aye.
And I also vote aye. April 19th special session minutes are approved. So last one, April 21st special session minutes. I did submit a correction or a modification. So I just asked the board to take a look at that. I do have it up on my screen. I'm just on a laptop, so I'm not as good at sharing it, but let me see if I can do that real quick. Actually, yeah, I'm not gonna share. Sorry, you all. I'm just gonna read. If you're able to look into the minutes, it was like Meg said, there were a few grammatical changes. The only thing that I really changed that was of any substance is I added in the second to last sentence, it said, based on feedback, the board chose to not take action providing time for the district to, and I added the word to continue to negotiate with EEA instead of the union. So I clarified that continue to negotiate, and I changed union to EEA. Those were the changes that I made. Or
And I'm not, are you in the 21st minutes or the 19th?
21st, yep, special session minutes.
Okay, I don't see where those changes are in here.
So Matt, has that been made or do I need to share my screen?
It should be made in there. I will double check.
Okay.
I also don't believe that that's what you said about continuing negotiations.
And this is why we are approving these minutes as such, because we need to make sure that we do agree on our minutes. So, so it sounds like Meg says that that wasn't there. I thought it was. Board, what do y'all think?
I wasn't there, so I can't help.
To the best of my recollection, yes, that was a long, emotional meeting. So to the best of my recollection, yes.
I'm looking at my notes that I'm not supposed to be taking, but I don't write anybody's name down anymore. So let's see.
Since it was a special meeting, it wasn't recorded. Because we don't record special meetings. Yeah.
So guess I'd like to ask a clarification. So Ginger, if I could put you on the spot. I remember in this session that you went through multiple dates that you had negotiated with EEA, and I think you rattled off about 8 or 6 different dates. So this was not the first time that we are going to put in the minutes that you negotiated with EEA. You have been continuing to negotiate with EEA. So if you could, I don't know if you recall those dates or about approximately how many times, but if I do remember that very clearly in the meeting.
Well, it doesn't say, I mean, where you're,
Jason?
certainly Ginger mentioned a number of negotiation dates and it would be a continuation, but where is it that you're putting this in?
Jason, those edits that you're referring to are in 419, not 421.
Oh,
Well, no,
okay.
it's so confusing. All right.
Oh, right. Yes, you would have said it on the 19th, definitely.
Okay, well then I stand corrected. So
So now we have to approve the 19th ones.
So moving forward, sorry, I know we're getting really stuck in the the difficulties of running a public meeting. So I apologize, board, for that. I will take full responsibility for not catching that sooner. So I think we have already voted for the 19th special session minutes. We can leave that as is, or make a move that we go back to that and relook at it. Also, if I remember right, we have Matt, correct me if I'm wrong, but did we actually have a motion and a seconded for the 21st?
We do not have a motion or a second for the 21st
Okay.
at this moment.
So board, to move us forward, I will entertain a motion about however the board would like to move forward.
Okay, well, I will move that we approve the minutes of the 21st.
Yes, and I will second that motion.
Okay. Awesome. So
And I say,
Meg has approved that we approve April 21st special session minutes, and Tasha has seconded. Is there any discussion? All right, then I will call the vote. Dan?
I'll abstain. I wasn't there.
Okay, thank you, Dan. Tasha?
Aye.
Hilda?
aye.
Meg?
Aye.
And I also vote aye, so minutes are approved. All right, board, are we moving on to business? Oh, sorry, Tasha, go ahead.
Yes,
Yeah,
we have item G, still under administration.
Oh, thank you. So board, we're moving on to transportation.
sorry, I'm not sure Dan can abstain just because he wasn't there. You have, as I was told, I couldn't abstain last time unless I had a conflict of interest.
Oh,
That's true. We could get a point of clarity from our Roberts rules where the book is on the desk. I only know this because he helped me very much when I was in that same seat because I do not have background in that. I believe that you can abstain though because you do not have the knowledge necessary to make that vote because you were not at that meeting.
That
That's
is
what I would
correct.
say too.
That is correct. He can abstain because he does not have information necessary to make a vote.
Okay. Just check.
thank you.
All right, board. So we are moving on to transportation update. Ginger or Brian or who, administrative staff, go for it.
So the transportation update. So I want to just kind of review and give you a high level review. The purpose of this transportation update is really to just give you information of where we're at. And then we are planning a more in-depth discussion around transportation at our next board meeting. So just as a reminder, I'm just gonna do the quick overview again. Last year, we chose to move away from the transfer system to a tiered system. The health concerns, related to COVID were important drivers in making this decision. For example, we knew at the time that secondary students were more of a concern for transmission than elementary. It made sense then to separate secondary and elementary. Having that kind of a tiered system also provided more space for students on the bus. We did have some bus drivers that also expressed some concerns about driving a bus during a pandemic with students. And as I've shared before, between June and October of last year, we had 13 bus drivers that left for multiple reasons. Some moved out of the area, some for health reasons, just really multiple reasons. And in order to provide that continuity of services and a schedule that families could count on, we needed to make a decision in June, mid-July, to just move forward with the tiered system that we knew we could support. We have been advertising for bus drivers now continuously all year, and really for the last 3 years, but especially this year. It isn't something that just started up. We've been advertising all year long, all through last summer. We've had signs up. Lincoln's had the sign there for bus drivers for quite a while. We've had a sign at Valley View for a while. We try to move it around. We've done advertising. We have had postings on our website. Really, no matter what kind of model we have, we want to continue to always ask for more bus drivers. And as I shared before, there are bus driver shortages across all of the area, our surrounding areas, West Valley, Yakima, Clayelm, Kittitas. They all have postings right now. The only one near us that doesn't is East Valley. So multiple districts right now are experiencing a shortage of bus drivers. Creating that tiered system was not a waste of time though, because we also know, and we've discussed this before, that when Ida Nason Aronica Elementary opens in the fall of 2022, we're going to need to move to a different type of transportation system. And at our study session, at our last study session on April 14th, we also said that looking at a different kind of system could possibly include talking about boundaries and zones of attendance. At that study session, we also said that we would be looking at putting together a board committee starting next fall of 2021 to start looking at what would it mean for us to start thinking about boundaries for when Ida Nason Aronica opens, because we know that it's not economically feasible to continue with the transfer system, especially when that fourth school opens. We also really acknowledge, and I personally acknowledge, that the tiered system is really hard on families, especially on families that have children across several different schools and different levels between secondary and elementary. We also shared at the last study session, I put it in my superintendent update for my April one, that we really needed to start setting some timelines to be able to give Eric enough time to be able to do the planning necessary to implement a transportation model for next year. So we set the date of April 29th, and we said, and have been sharing openly, that by the 29th, if we don't have 5 to 8 driver applicants apply for a bus driving position, that we would need to look at that the transfer model would no longer be able to be considered, and that we would have to look at a different model. April 29th is tomorrow, and we did have 1 applicant, which is good. We could end up having 4 more applicants tomorrow. But if we don't, then we need to move forward, and the transfer system will no longer be an option if we don't get at least 4 to 5 applicants tomorrow. And so one of the models that we know we can consider with the bus drivers that we have right now is the tiered model. Now, the biggest problem with the tiered model is the gap, right? There is a gap between whether secondary goes first or elementary goes first. When you look at the gap between the 2 levels, there is just about a 2-hour gap between like the elementary and the secondary level for lots of different reasons. And Eric did a good job at their last study session, sharing with us all the different reasons why we have that gap because of the routing. We go way out to Badger Pocket, we go way up the canyon. We've got a wide variety of routes that we cover and that we want to continue to service for our families. And in this system, that gap is there so that we can continue to run it. And so we've also been receiving a lot of feedback from our families, which we really appreciate. We've received quite a few letters and people have had and I appreciate that. And I think you do as well as a board. We have heard loud and clear from our families that the tiered system is hard, especially for, again, those families that have children in different levels. A proposed solution that has come through more than once. We had, I think, a couple in writing, and it's come up. Tasha and I have been holding parent meetings to have listen more to people's concerns, help to try to answer any questions that are still out there. We did one at Valley View. We've done one at Lincoln. We did one at Mount Morgan last night, and we're going to continue with that with the high school in Mount Stewart next week. And then we're going to have a special one as well for our Spanish speaking families, which looks like it may end on May 10th. So we are going to we have been reaching out, and I think we're really demonstrating that we really do want to hear people's feedback. And so one of the suggestions that has actually come from some of the parents in the feedback, and a question that's been posed is, would it be possible, at all possible, or could you at least consider the possibility of starting the boundary conversation now and thinking about boundaries of our attendance zones even for next year? And the advantage of that, in talking with Eric and Brian, is that it shrinks that gap. Instead of having a 2-hour gap between whatever tier is first and whatever tier is second, it significantly reduces it. I don't have numbers for that right now, but I have asked Eric and Brian, and they both said yes, that it would definitely shrink the gap. So I wanted you to know that Eric and his team, they're troopers, because I mean, this means like nonstop work all the way through the summer, putting in extra hours to do it. We're not even sure right now if it's possible. So, but we really want to be responsive to the community suggestions that have come into us. So Eric has agreed to talk with his software company, to talk to his team and see if something like this would even be an option. And he should be able to let me know sometime next week if moving that boundary conversation from next year to right now, between now and let's say the end of June, and then he would need most of summer to put it together, even if that's an option. So we're looking at that, and I don't have any more details around that because Eric is still just seeing if it's possible. But really kudos to his team, and kudos to our community and our parents for meeting and proposing that as a possibility. So we're definitely looking into that. Another idea came out that we're looking at, and the idea at Morgan Middle School was suggested. And is there any way somehow partnering with our public transit system could help with this transportation issue? We know, for example, even with sports transportation, that maybe there's a way they can help us with that, and maybe there's a way that they can help us even with the overall model. And so I'm going to be meeting with the coordinator of the transportation system tomorrow morning. We really are. I'm just so thankful for our parents and their suggestions and us coming together as a community. I think Jason or someone mentioned that earlier, that personally, that's what I love about Ellensburg, is that we really try to come together and problem solve together. And so that's where we're at with transportation. Again, we'll be giving you a more detailed plan as far as what did Eric find out, and much closer to, if not being able to make a decision on the 14th based on what Eric is able to find out.
Ginger, could I ask a clarifying question?
Yes.
So can you verify the date of when the applications will close for bus drivers?
Well, the applications are going to stay open, but the
Okay.
time that we have to make a decision for the transfer system really is April 29th. And we set that as a date because Eric needs to be able to train. He needs to be able to take them through the CDL process. And even then, some people go through it and they don't finish all the way. So we set that as a date, and to support Eric and his team, I think it's important to keep to that date.
That I recognize that's under the administration and that's under you all's purview to make that call. But because we have really heard from the community, and I really appreciate the problem solving of what's doing, is there any flexibility to, I guess I'm just wondering, like, is there some sort of consequences if it was extended for a week, or if, like, what if there is this last ditch effort where all of a sudden we get 4 more applicants in the next week? I'm just wondering, it sounds like you're kind of extending the decision based off of some of the new information that you've had. I'm just wondering, is there any flexibility in looking at this, just because this is such an important matter? We've heard from a lot of our community members and parents, and I love the idea of, because I really feel like the issue that I'm hearing from, that the board is hearing from most of our community, is it's really the gap in the time, right? Because that is so much inconvenient, and it's hard on learning, it's hard on the different age groups, it affects sports eligibility, it affects a lot of different things. So just wondering, like, are we just tied to that date, or is there just no wiggle room in there?
No, I appreciate that, Eric, Jason. I definitely think that's something that we can consider, and I can get back to you around that. I can take that to Brian and Eric, and as long as we are looking into that too, I think it would make sense to see if we could do that. So I'll circle back with the board around that. Yep, I appreciate that. I think that's a good suggestion if they're able to do it.
Well, am I on mute? No. I'm actually going to show up here, trying to protect you all from my bruised and battered face, not from being battered, but from being operated on. I appreciate this discussion a great deal, because you hit on the 3 things that I had thought of. I know we started conversations with the city last fall, and I don't know what has become of that. I was at the first meeting, but I never knew about any follow-up. But talking to the city is a great idea. They're involved with both the University Hope Source and the city jointly operate a bus public transit system, and there might be some opportunities there to collaborate, and the firmness of the date and starting the boundary discussions. Those are all things that I had thought of and not said anything to anybody, but obviously great minds think alike, and or whatever. And so I really appreciate that, that seeing some flexibility around this, because I believe the input from the community has, unlike the reopening discussion, the input from the community has been pretty unanimous that this is not great. And if we're going to have to change it in 22, 23 anyway, it would seem to be time to get looking at that before we decide what to do for next year, even though I realize it's very late in the game.
Hey, May.
Brian? Oh, go ahead.
Just a couple things. Great thoughts, great ideas. I would tell you that Mr. Engel and his transportation department, they were already working on the 22-23 boundary model for us, and that's the only reason that we can even consider doing that maybe a year early and trying to have this in place for the community for the 21-22 school year. So there was work going on already, and they're just building on that work right now. And so it's not a question that can we do the boundaries and shave off time on the delivery day. We can cut that down to an hour and 15 minutes at the longest, which is over an hour improvement for our families and our students. We know we can do that for 22, 23. But what their huge challenge is, and it's a big task, is to try and put that in place for next year. Because if you recall, we are in a transition year next year with only 3 schools. But what they're trying to do is build the four boundaries, specific to our elementary schools for next year, and then yet revise them so that it will work for next year's process with only 3 schools. So there's a lot of work involved there, and my hat off to Mr. Engel and Carol and Cindy in the bus garage and all our wonderful drivers. They've just been troopers this past couple of years. So I think they might be able to give us some good news, but we'll wait and hear what Mr. Engel finds out.
Well, and I do appreciate that this is a very complicated issue, and especially as you say, because we have a different set of conditions for 21, 22 than we do for 22, 23. But again, that's why I think I think 21, 22, like this past year, is not a normal situation, and to possibly, I think the most promising idea might be working with the city, especially middle and high school. The kids over the age of 10 can ride city buses, well over the age of 14 for sure, and 10 if they're accompanied by somebody over the age of 14. And they may have excess capacity, and we have excess buses, not excess drivers. Anyway, I would really like to see that pursued. And I really appreciate all the effort that everybody's putting into this.
Ginger, can I share that document that we have from the listening sessions? Or is that more appropriate in the teaching and learning report?
I was wondering if we could share that now, or if you wanted to wait and share all of the feedback from all the schools during the study session. I can go either way with it.
I would like to show it to the board now because it's actually in board docs.
Okay,
So thankful to Matt, who was able to do the amazing back end work on this. Board, if you are in your board docs and you on the right-hand side see library, and if you do that drop-down menu, you'll see reports. So like on the right-hand side, you'll see library. Once you click on that, on the left-hand side, you will see reports. You click on reports.
Here it is, Tasha, too. I got it.
Yeah, I don't see library.
Meg, if you're in board docs, you're looking at that on the far right-hand side.
I don't see it.
I've got it on the screen too, Tasha.
Yeah,
if you want to
okay.
use it.
Okay. So board, just so you know, this is archived in our board docs library, so you do have access to it. Sorry, I've got feedback somehow, so I apologize. So as Ginger mentioned, we've been going out and visiting with schools on this, and this, the schools have been responsible for sending out the information and the invite to their parent groups. They've chosen to do that in a variety of different ways, but all of them up to this point have utilized board docs, or not board docs, Blackboard. And so if you remember, Blackboard's with the parents that we opt into at the beginning of the year. And so that is sent out into your preferred language. And it also allows us to track as a district to make sure that people do have access to these. And I've been thankful that the buildings have been open to this. Honestly, it started because I'm a Valley View parent and I'm on Facebook, and I know Valley View PTA was meeting, and I know that hardworking group. So I was able to reach out to Ginger and say, hey, I think we can at the last minute get on their agenda and go talk to them. And Ginger was willing to add another meeting to her day and to reach out to the other buildings who have set up meetings too. So while we're in those meetings, I just take general notes, a general overview of what is being said in those meetings, right? This is the umbrella. I didn't write down every single question. I tried to +1 it, +2 it if I saw it a lot, but the conversations were really good, really rich. So I would not, the +1, the +2, it means that there was multiple response. So in there, you'll see the time that we spent with them, approximate number of attendees, and who was there on the district side. And then I was there as the board rep. Valley View, it was a great discussion. It was a little bit difficult because the kids had just come back. And so Rob and Kelly, the building principals, were telling adorable stories of first graders being back at school. And then we got to follow up with busing. So that was a little bit difficult. But as you go through, you can see the surprise for me at Valley View was that many parents said that they liked the early start time for their elementary kids. They'd gotten used to it. Their kids were up early anyway. They liked the break between picking them up and dinner. They didn't have to rush to that. And then they also brought up the concern that if it is flipped, if we do flip it to secondary, we are asking families to incur costs for childcare. And so they were concerned about that. They also had a good idea about, can our bus drivers have other job responsibilities during the day? Very concerned about the 2-hour difference in the start times. And since it was the first organized listening event, they shared stories about tiered start times. Most of them had grown up in districts with tiered start times. They were surprised that Ellensburg didn't have tiered start times. I grew up in North Dakota out in the country, and we didn't ride the bus. I was jealous of everyone who rode the bus. So I've never paid attention to busing. And then I taught in Los Angeles, and all of my high school kids rode the city bus. So I've never really paid attention to how busing works. And so to hear that tiered busing was common to them, that wasn't what was throwing them off, but the start times, that difference when you have kids in multiple schools, that is the large concern that everyone has. Lincoln was next. That was a shorter discussion. We had approximately 12 parents there. Very concerned parent, I think it was a parent, very concerned community member who wanted to know if the board was listening to any of the innovative ideas coming from the community, or if we'd already made up our mind. Very concerned about the start times. And we also had a parent there. I happen to know she's a doctoral student, and she has also sent us an email sharing research about the equity impacts of early elementary starts. So she advocated quite strongly for children there. Morgan Middle School was next, approximately 55 attendees there, 6 o'clock to 7 o'clock. In all of these, you'll see that the resource shared was the FAQ that's posted on the ESD website. So I just listed anything that was shared in the chat box. I tried to list there. I don't want to read them all to you, but overarching, right, was very much concerned about early start times for elementary. Is it behaviorally appropriate? Boundaries were brought up in all of the meetings, heavily brought up, of saying, why has Ellensburg not had boundaries? Wanting to know the history on that, wanting to know how quickly we could move to boundaries. Concerns about boundaries, though, at Morgan were expressed of, well, what happens to upper elementary kids if we institute boundaries? Is a 5th grader going to have to go to a new school? But then also concerns about this, is this more fiscally responsible to have boundaries? So you could see everyone was wrestling with the pros and cons of that. Morgan gave a great shout out to the bus drivers and all that they do. They brought up potential walking zones. Could we have walking zones? I was there with that parent too, when she was like, could we have a 1/4 mile walking zone? I'm like, wow, that's really good. And then Eric is like, that's like 4 blocks. That's 4. And I was like, well, I guess I didn't put that into perspective. It sounded a lot longer. And also in that meeting, Eric spoke very passionately about the need to be aware of, are we considering reducing service to our students and the long-term impact that would have on our families and communities? Because once we reduce services, it's not easy to bring it back. And then people were asking about incentives. So I'm trying to look at that document too. What incentives could we give our bus drivers? But I do encourage you to go to that document and look at that and read that through. I did try to capture those. People have ideas and they're willing to share them. So you'll see the dates on there for the other listening groups also. I was also fortunate enough to speak with a bus driver who's been driving for Ellensburg for a number of years. And they shared with me that it's general consensus at the bus barn that they really like and want tiered start. It has made a difference to their work life. It has made a difference to the kids that are getting on the bus. It is also the belief that with the extended hours that the tiered busing is giving bus drivers, that would be an incentive for more bus drivers to come and drive for ESD. And then when they explained, before tiered driving, they would have 77 kids on a bus, right? And that's more than we have in a classroom. Well, not more than the music teachers have in a classroom, but more than our teachers have in the classroom. And it's a very small area, and it was with high school students and middle school students and elementary students, and the bus drivers are doing their best to keep everyone safe and everyone seated while driving a bus, right? And so they shared quite strongly that the bus drivers really appreciate and would advocate for the tiered busing, that it was better long-term.
Well, you mentioned one bus driver. We heard very strongly the opposite contention from another bus driver who wrote to us. So.
Yes, I assumed that we'd read those emails, so we all knew that one also. So I wasn't going to bring that one up. This was a discussion from today. So letting you know that I'd had this discussion today. And so for you to consider it.
And these are the other dates: May 3rd, Ellensburg, May 4th, and then May 10th will be for our EL students, our second language students, families. And that meeting will be in Spanish.
I just want to add, when I was living in San Antonio, there is 12 school districts over there. All of them use tier bus system, all of them. There is no other possibility. And all the time that my kids went to school, the bus come to pick them up at 6:30 a.m. for elementary. That's a reality, and that was it. So it's the way it works in many places in the country. I just want to point out to the community.
So that's the end of my update for now. We'll share some more at our next meeting.
Thank you, Ginger. Board, any other questions, comments about transportation or clarification? Meg? No? Okay. All right. Then we will move on to business. So February and March 2021 financial reports. So is this?
Thank you, Jason.
Brian, yeah.
As you mentioned, you have 2 months of reports there. So we've got ourselves caught back up and cycle now. So there's a lot happening, you know, in the admin office right now. Not only are we working hard to try and come up with transportation options, we're trying to get our audit wrapped up for the last 2 years. It's a comprehensive audit, a financial audit, federal audit, and also accountability audit. And I wanted to just mention to board members that our exit conference for the audit is next Thursday. It's the 6th at 1 p.m. And Meg has already responded and offered to come in. So I thank you, Meg, for doing that. So 2 of you can come in, and if there's more than 2, then we'll have to advertise it as a public meeting. So, you know, just let us know if you want to come in and participate with that. That seems to be going very well. Construction wise, I just wanted to give you just a quick update on where we are with IDA. We've been also trying to pull some strings and get it so that IDA can open up on time in September. Now, we are getting really close to being able to come out publicly and say that. And I know our teachers and our staff and our kids in our community would be really excited for us to be able to make that announcement. We're not quite there. We were hoping to be able to give Ginger that announcement tonight, but we ran into a couple of hurdles, and so we're continuing to work on that. But that would be huge for staff, because no more partial move for our poor kindergarten teachers to have to move to another portable at Mount Stewart, and then a month later move up to IDA when it's finished. And the benefit to our contractor, Garco, is that they can just move right into Lincoln at the very end of June and just tear right into that project, and that helps them. with prices going up so rapidly. I think I've already mentioned that the price of lumber went up 73% from last year, and escalation is a real concern for us, that they'd be able to get started on Lincoln and bring that in under budget and in with plenty of time to get school started there for students for September of 22. So we'll update you there as we get closer to that. So keep your fingers crossed for us. We're trying to make that happen too. There's a lot going on at the legislature right now, and I'm sure our board legislative rep Meg is gonna give some more information on that. But we're busy trying to understand what the budget implications are for us, and I'm still kind of scratching my head trying to figure out why, for example, on the prototypical model, our salary allocations, which is what we are funded, are up 1.5%, but yet they're publicizing that the IPD, which is the COLA, it's the COLA, Tasha, it's the new COLA, is up 2%. And so is that a mistake? Do they need more clarification? So there's a lot of things that we have to confirm there. And then on top of everything else, we've got ESSER 1, ESSER 2, and now ESSER 3, and guidelines for all three ESSER funding sources are changing rapidly and getting more confusing by the day. So Paige in our business office, they're busy trying to figure out, how to do all the accounting for all of these funds that we're going to have to start tracking. And so that said, there's a lot going on, and yet we caught up your board reports. And so as I look back at February and March, I see that our spending is beginning to pick up, and I would expect that as we're getting ready to have students back, and what a celebration that is. And we are spending more than we are bringing in, and that's a sign that things are happening in school, and I see that as a good sign, and one that's very expected. Other than that, board, any questions on reports or anything else that I may have covered tonight? Oh, okay. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Brian.
Yep.
All right, board, that takes us to policy. Policy 6580, continuity of operations plan. Ginger?
Yes, I'd like to recommend that you approve this policy. It really takes all the different plans that we have in place right now around safety and the infrastructure that we have, and really pulls all those pieces together into one plan. I talked to Neil today. He thought that we could take some of the things we already have in place and really pull it together in a comprehensive plan, and that he and his team and all of us working together could have that put in place by the end of May. Would be what we would be shooting for to have this in place. But we definitely think it's a good policy that supports safety in our district.
So board, this is an action item.
I move that we approve policy 6580.
I'll second.
A second.
All right, I like it. We got a lot of seconds. So Dan moved that we approve policy 6580, and I heard Tasha first. So Tasha seconded. Board, is there any discussion? Seeing that there is none, I'll go ahead and call the vote. Dan?
Aye.
Tasha?
Aye.
Hilda?
Aye.
Meg?
Aye.
I also vote aye. Policy 6580 is approved. And the second and last policy on our agenda is policy 2145, suicide prevention. Ginger?
Yes, this policy we feel like is really important for the board also to adopt. It is around suicide prevention, and as we heard from Chief Elliott, that was especially an issue this year. And I just think that we believe that this is going to be really important in making that and keeping it a priority in our district, and making sure that right now suicide prevention and some of the other things are in this bullet. In these bullets, we do safety training with a program that we get that's associated with Clear Risk, our insurance company. Every single staff member is required to do it every year. And so I think that by putting this policy in place, it just ensures and says that this is a priority for us and really supports the work that we're doing.
Ginger. And board, this is also an action item.
I move that we approve this policy 2145 on suicide prevention, which I believe we had a first reading of it years ago, but we never finally approved it, and it has not changed since then, but it's an important policy to have.
I'll second.
I move that we adopt it.
All right. Thank you, Meg, and thank you, Dan. So Meg has moved that we approve policy 2145 for suicide prevention. Dan has seconded. Is there any discussion?
Jason, could I ask Kelly Kronbauer also has been looking at this policy and working with counselors. Kelly, is there anything else you would add around this policy?
Nope, I think you've covered it. I did have an opportunity to get this in front of every counselor. They were wholeheartedly in approval of it. And really this came out of the work I'm doing with counselors and our PLC. The counseling team has developed a really robust suicide prevention procedure. And as we were working through that, I realized we don't have a policy. And so I wanted to make sure that we got a policy in place so that then we had this other procedure in which lays the foundation of that. So thank you for this.
Yeah, thank you, Kelly, and thank you, Ginger, for that clarification. I think the board often, we're moving forward with policy, and it's really helpful to hear how our policy, actually procedure, it sounded like was almost moving forward before us, but thanks for aligning those and making that connection. So thank you for that. Board, any further discussion? There has been a motion and a seconded. All right, then I will call the vote. Dan?
Aye.
Tasha?
Aye.
Hilda?
Aye.
Meg?
Aye.
I also vote aye. Policy 2145 suicide prevention is approved. Right, that takes us board to board reports. Dan, is there a report for early learning?
Not today.
All right, thank you, Dan. Legislative report. Meg, is there a report?
Yes, of sorts. Last Sunday was what they call in the legislative business sine die, which I learned to pronounce when I was taking Latin 50 years ago. A sine die means the legislature closed its session without setting a day for another session. So the legislative session is over now. There was a lot of negotiation about the budget at the tail end that was not very transparent, but the budgets were all adopted. Operating, capital, and transportation. The capital gains tax was passed, but it's subject to a referendum, and it turns out to be supporting early childhood education, which we also love, more than K-12 education. In general, the funding for K-12 wasn't as generous as we hoped because the legislators think that the federal government and they themselves have given us enough money lately. We did get on pupil transportation and enrollment stabilization, we got something. We didn't get all that we hoped for, but we got something. Being able to use the 2019-20 enrollment for various programs and for the upcoming levy. And we got something on pupil transportation as well. So I guess we will call it a day or a DA, the case may be.
Thanks, Meg. Any questions for Meg? All right. Next up, we have students' reports. I see Jaden's name. Jaden, do you have a report?
Yeah, so there's a quick update on the student experience survey that ends on April 30th. And so we're hoping next week to get together again and just kind of look at and digest all of that information to put it into a presentation for the board, hopefully at the next meeting. And then I will ask all of the board members to have in the back of their mind potential focus group questions if there was interest to create focus groups within the grade levels at the high school. And so if there was enough interest in creating those, then I will be asking you in the future for those questions to keep discussing how students feel about their schooling.
Jaden, any questions for Jaden? Yeah, Meg.
I forgot to say that Brian is correct that in the state budget, the COLA is 2%, not 1.5. So I don't know where that 1.5 is coming from.
All right, thanks, Meg. Well, thank you, Jaden. I am thrilled to see the efforts that you have really put forward to get the survey out to the students. I think that's a huge undertaking for someone who's in high school. So very impressive of your work on that. And thank you for doing that. I think that information will be very valuable for the board to hear. So thank you for that. And yes, board, I think we need to be thinking about focus groups. Like, can we provide some feedback to Jaden moving forward? So again, thank you, Jaden. I don't see Olivia here, so I'm going to move forward to teaching and learning. Tasha, is there a report?
I don't have an additional report from the transportation listening session.
Perfect. Yep. Thank you for your attendance there and reporting that back to the board. That was very helpful. All right. Then that I need to gotta switch my screens here. Okay, so perfect. That takes us to community input or a public comment. Matt, can you please set us up for public comment?
Yep, I am placing the link into the chat box again for anyone if they want to click on that link and sign up. And I will get things set up while you read your statement.
Okay, perfect. So individuals wishing to be heard by the board have two options. One, they will add their names to the document in the Zoom chat box, or two, they will be recognized within Zoom by using the icon or emoji to show they are raising their hand. Once the chair calls on an individual, they will identify themselves by stating their name and address for the record. Individuals will proceed to make comments within the 2-minute time limit. In order to provide equal opportunity for comments, an individual's microphone will be turned off at the 2-minute time limit. The chair or other board members may interrupt or terminate an individual's statement when it is too lengthy, personally directed, abusive, obscene, or irrelevant. The board as a whole has the final decision in determining the appropriateness of such rulings. Board members will also not respond to public comment during this meeting. In accordance to the Public Meeting Act 4230, agendas and topics must be set in advance of the meeting. Comments to the board may also be submitted by emailing the board at board@esd401.org. So Matt, are we ready to open public comment?
Yes, we are. Just let me share my screen here. Okay, bring up my participant list. Okay. Currently, I am not seeing anyone in the list. You can set a timer.
Yes, if you have one on the list, go ahead and set the timer. For what?
as the timers run out, no one had entered their name into the list in the chat box, and I did not see anyone raise their hand.
All right, thank you, Matt. So public comment is now closed. So the board, that moves us on to new business, proposed items for future consideration. I don't see anyone jumping up or waving at me. So, oh, Dan.
I guess I'm wondering about the process of making borders and stuff, and I'm wondering, I know Eric is working pretty hard on that, but part of the process, I think, is going to be people choosing as well. Since we're going from 3 districts to 4, or 3 schools to 4, some people are going to choose to transfer schools, I guess, right? I just don't know how that's going to happen, and is there some way we need to get people together to help figure out that process of transfer of kids? Because some kids from Valley View, some from Mount Stewart, some from Lincoln are all going to be possibly going to Ida, Mason, or Anika. So I don't know. Do we have a mechanism to work on that decision?
Yes.
Yeah,
So,
yeah,
Ginger, go
Dan, I
ahead.
appreciate that. Absolutely. Those will be topics that we'll be covering in future meetings and looking at that process for sure.
Yep. Thank you, Ginger, for that clarification. And thank you, Dan, because I think the board does remember that I think this was a study, I don't remember which meeting, I think it was a study session, but we did bring up the opportunity, or we thought it might make sense to create a board committee or a committee that would include our community, right? As far as looking at the I gotta make sure I get the right year, the 2022 to 23 academic year moving forward. Because right now it's really the conversation about the next academic year that we're looking, to the admin for their recommendations and solutions moving forward. So
yeah, I understand.
And sorry, my understanding is because of how this is being kind of extended, and Ginger and the admin are moving forward, I think we were just waiting to kind of see because I think a lot more is on the table. I think the admin is looking at a lot of solutions. They've been doing this for a while, but I think they're looking at a lot more solutions on the table. So I think that's why we've placed that on hold. But if you would like that to be added, we can definitely add that for future consideration, because I don't want to lose sight of that option. So.
Yeah, well, we need to find out what Eric figures out first and see how that's
Well,
come down.
I mean, I would say we need to begin the community conversation. I don't think we said that we wanted to begin the community conversation not until until fall for 22-23. I thought I heard we might move that conversation forward, and I would hope that we would.
Yeah, Meg, originally we had said that we would start that conversation in fall of 2021, right, next year. So we'd have all of that of next year to help plan for the 22-23 school year. But if Eric is able to consider it as an option to look at, creating boundaries and therefore shortening that gap for next year, and that's the direction that we choose to go in, then we would definitely be proposing, let's bring a committee together really as soon as possible this year to start those conversations.
Okay. And Ginger, I would add to that the challenge for Eric and his team is not that we will have boundaries to propose to the school board and to committee, but the challenge is that we will have a process that's going to still work for next year. That's the most challenging piece that his talented software engineers are working on right now. They're trying to figure out how we do that in time for next year. So you're right. If you want to put in boundaries in time for next year and get away from the long tiered process with a big gap between, it is gonna require that you move your process up. And I honestly think that's a good thing, because our community is really asking us, you know, to come up with a boundary solution right now. And I can't think of anything better for you going forward than them asking you to put a boundary proposal forward. I think that's a win-win for you, because in previous districts and previous lives, I will tell you that the biggest challenge we had was just getting the community to accept the idea of boundaries, and it was quite a fight. So I think you're on the right track.
Okay, the other question I had was about, we were talking about putting a committee together to examine the bond for next February. Is that happening soon, or when might that be working?
Thanks, Dan. We're going to probably circle back with you we'll have to get together with Brian and kind of find out what his timeline is. But yeah, it's definitely something we'll circle back to. So we definitely appreciate you bringing that up. It's definitely a topic we'll continue to have as something for future consideration.
Okay.
Yep, that's important.
Thanks, Dan. Anything else? All right, I'm not seeing any others. Is there, Ginger, there's not an executive session tonight, correct? Okay. Board, that takes us to board calendar. All right, clarifications and next steps. Ginger, no? Okay. Signing of official documents. Matt, how are we doing?
Doing pretty good. I do have some documents that need to be signed. Let me just look at this really quick. I do have Jason and Hilda's signature. I do need 2 other signatures. One of those being Ginger, and then we can move these documents forward.
Okay. All right, board, let's help Matt out there and get our signatures in. Looking forward to that e-forms or e-signature. All right, perfect. That leads us to adjournment. Board, I will entertain a motion. I saw Dan's hand first. So Dan, are you moving? Where's the second? It looks like Meg got the second. There we go. Meeting adjourned. Thank you all. Have a great night.